Manipulating gravity is something many games have toyed with over the years, but we've definitely seen an increase of it of late, be it in puzzlers or action-adventure, and the latest game to put a spin on our perception of which way is up is the third-person cover shooter Inversion.
Set in the near future, you take the role of Davis Russell. He's a cop and a family man on the way home to his daughter and wife. But then disaster strikes and the city is suddenly thrown into chaos with the invasion of an unknown enemy wielding huge futuristic machinery and gravity-controlling weapons.
Did you see that? What the hell?
Straight away you get a massive Gears of War vibe from this game. From the way it looks, to the way you move, to the cover mechanics, to even the enemies. It feels like it's all been just copied and pasted from that franchise.
Yeah, although happily, I really liked these heroes a lot more and found them much more relatable. The gameplay in Gears was brilliant and revolutionary, and I can understand why so many games want to use it as a blueprint, but I'm sorry, I hate all the characters in that franchise and everything that comes out of their mouths.
Heard there's a shitload of grubs there, Sergeant!
More like 10 shitloads.
Here, Davis and his partner seem like really decent guys and react to the violence and death around them with genuine disgust and don't have that over-the-top He-Man macho factor.
So many people dead.
Yeah, their motivations are a lot more interesting and believable, I think, if a little cheesy at times. Davis loses his daughter in the invasion, but after discovering that many children are mysteriously missing, he clings to the hope that she might still be alive. So he ventures off into the heart of the disaster with his partner at his side to try and get her back. And just like in Gears, you can play this in single player or co-op.
That first encounter really does feel like it comes out of nowhere, but I have to say, for regular cops, these guys sure are packing some serious firepower.
Let's grab the weapons. We have to find
I love the way he just pulls into what looks like the glove box to pull out, oh, here's my big gun.
You're right, let's move. Come on, Carol.
Unfortunately, all that ammunition isn't enough against these big baddies. You're soon captured and taken underground by the enemy now known as the Lutadors. And it's here that you're able to get your first taste of that gravity-bending tech as you fight to escape. You manage to get your hands in a kind of power pack that attaches to your arm and back, and this gives you the power to shoot bolts of energy that either send objects floating into the air or switch to heavy gravity to bring things crashing to the ground.
You'll use these to manipulate objects in your environment to create cover for you and your partner, which is particularly useful when there are turrets around. Or you can just simply shoot bolts of it at enemies, which has some pretty messy results. Occasionally too, you'll encounter pockets of energy which will change your whole direction of gravity completely, leaving you to traverse the environment and seek cover up the sides of walls or buildings. The action feels really fluid and rocks along nicely, and this gravity mechanic is fun, but it is something we have seen a few times before, isn't it?
Yeah, in fact, off the top of my head, I can list a bunch of games that have used all of these ideas already. The gravity bolt is pretty much Liara's singularity ability from Mass Effect, letting you take out enemies while they're sent floating into the air. Picking up objects with gravity and hurling them at enemies is very Half-Life or Bioshock. And using heavy gravity is just like Quantum Conundrum. And we experienced that gravity turning only recently in Gravity Rush. But I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I personally really like it when a shooter introduces other ideas to put a different spin on things, and I guess they figured they'd base this, you know, on a style of game that people already love.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think if you're going to make a game like this, you need to either make it a bit more innovative than what has come in the past, or at least make it as good. And I feel like they do a good job here, but it hasn't got the polish or spit and shine of something like Gears of War. And I liked that whole gravity turning idea. I just wish they used it more. It was only a handful of times, really.
Yeah, I agree to a point, but I also think they were designing within some constraints. I mean, there's only so much you can work that idea into a level. My favourite moments in this game were when we're in those floating sections, gliding from cover to cover and trying to shoot at other floating enemies. It all felt a bit crazy, but I loved it.
That was cool. I especially enjoy getting swarmed by those crazy ninja women.
Yes!
I can't do this alone!
I really enjoyed this in co-op too. There are some nice sections where you have to watch each other's back and work together, and using objects in your environment when bullets are low can be a lifesaver. That said, I thought the gunplay was a bit lacking. I didn't really like the guns, and their recoil just didn't feel right, and they didn't feel like they had any weight to them. It's not a bad looking game. There's a nice level of detail in the environment. It does have that post-apocalyptic colour filter over it though, doesn't it?
Yeah, lots of brown. But still, they varied locations up a bit, from the underground to enemy tunnels to ruined cityscapes, and I thought it was generally pretty fun to navigate. I actually found myself enjoying this a lot more than I thought I would, Budge. I was intrigued by the premise and lured by the mystery of these lutadors. They're big and nasty, but no one really knows where they came from, and they can't just be aliens because they look human and they speak a kind of rough English. I don't know, it piqued my curiosity in a way that other games like this often don't. And where were they taking all the children, Badge? I wanted answers to these questions, and that pulled me through.
Yeah, it certainly is intriguing, but that voice acting, especially Davis's partner, that was pretty rough.
Oh, wait! You were going home for a...
Oh, well, he got a lot better, and he and Davis have that wonderful, loyal friendship, and I don't know, they just had me with that gotta find my daughter speech, so from that point on, I was with them 100%.
I'm going with you. I'm gonna go find your daughter.
No, I'll move faster on my own.
Like hell you will.
There are a bunch of multiplayer modes and a wave mode, and I was really looking forward to them, Hex, to see how that gravity mechanic would play into it, but we couldn't get a game.
Yeah, and the game's been out for a while, so that doesn't bode well.
No. Wrapping up, I think they needed to take that gravity mechanic a little bit further for it to be more interesting. It was pretty simple, and if you do pick this up, I'd recommend turning the hint system off, because it gives you hints on stuff that is blindingly obvious.
For me, it created a great combination of story and gameplay that, I don't know, it just struck a chord with me. Sure, it's not reinventing the wheel, but I had a lot of fun with this. I'm giving it 7.5.
I'm giving it 6 out of 10. Now, it's been an epic journey for Troy and the gang, hasn't it, Hex?
Yes, but now we bring you the final episode of Tiny Power.